Hi there, welcome to the archives. I'm going to do one. So, this one I'm going to break up into two. We're moving on to the next person in Warriors, Queens, and Intellectuals 36 Great Women Before 1400. And so, the next woman, we're going to go back to Japan, and we're going to stick with the theme of poetry because we're going to talk about Abutsu. But before I do that, in order to understand Abutsu's story, we have to talk about Buddhism. So I thought I would do the first part specifically on Buddhism, and then we'll move into who Abutsu was in Japan. So I'm sharing about what I learned about Buddhism from Dr. Joyce Salisbury, Dr. Joyce Lee Salisbury, um, professor at University of Wisconsin, is what it says here. And so again, I'm not Buddhist. I considered um, converting to Buddhism once when I was younger, a couple of decades, even like a decade ago as well too, as well as when I was in high school, because I took world religions. I went to Catholic schools all my life, but in grade 10 we were allowed to study world religions. So I first started learning about other religions when I was in the 10th grade. When I was in Brampton, I knew about folks from other places. I had a Tamil, no, I think they were Sinhalese. I've had Sri Lankan babysitter. They had Hindu folks in there because Brampton is also a really large South Asian community, right? So I did know about Sikhs. I do know about Hindus. I didn't really know about Buddhism, so I didn't learn about Buddhism until grade 10. So here's what Dr. Joyce was sharing about Buddhism, okay? Buddhism began actually in India. Sometimes we think of Buddhism as something that is like originated in Thailand or something, but it actually originates in India. And it comes out in the 6th century. So remember, the 6th century is the 500s, year 500s. And so in the 6th century, oh no, no, this is BCE. This is even before Christ was born. So this is the 6th century BCE. So when Buddhism was born, we didn't even have Christianity then. Is that true? So it says it was born in India in the 6th century BCE when a prince named Gautama, am I pronouncing it right? Prince Gautama of India, he wanted to alleviate the suffering he was seeing all around him. My understanding, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Gautama at this time would have been Hindu. That's my understanding. Because then Dr. Joyce said Hinduism, and I got confused. I'm like, are we talking about Buddhism or Hinduism? But I think the reason why Hinduism came in is because the prince was originally practicing Hinduism. Correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like Gautama, the first Buddha, the first Buddha, was actually Indian and an Indian Hindu. And then once he came to this understanding of detachment, right? He was like, I have a solution. What did people detach themselves from their desires, these earthly desires of this world, which the Christians would say no longer feeding the flesh. Christianity is actually very similar. I was talking about this recently with my cousin, right? With Christianity, we just say, don't feed the flesh, don't be of this world, right? Don't be of this secular world. Buddhism basically says similar. Detach yourself from all of these earthly desires, right? Once you're able to attach yourself, once you're no longer feeding the flesh, once you're in prayer, you're in meditation, you're figuring out the secrets of the universe, um, you're finding out the deep, deep truths, then you can escape the cycle of rebirth, right? Because they believe that there is reincarnation. You die and then you're born again. Buddha, Prince Gautama was like, you can escape all of this die, rebirth, incarnation by just doing life right the first time. You could just live a very decent life the first time. You live a decent life by being engaged in prayer, by meditating, by going deep within to find out the truths of the universe, right? And then you don't have to die and come back. You don't have to be reincarnated. That sets a stone for Buddhism, right? Um, So after he had this insight, he started to teach this teaching. That becomes Buddhism, and he named the religion after himself. I was like, that's a little narcissistic, but like, no disrespect. So he names the religion after himself, and it's called Buddhism. Okay, so Buddha, he is known as Buddha, so which means the enlightened one. Hi, Mama. No, do not walk on my laptop. Okay, let's not do that. Ayura, get off. Ayura. Oh my goodness, you didn't have to do that. Like you know not to walk all it. Sorry, 1 second. Oh my goodness. So Buddha means the enlightened one. Thank you so much. Buddha lived. Sorry about that. Buddha lived from C. What is C? He lived a long time ago. It says 563 C to 488 BCE. Time is not even so. That's even so. Was that before Caesar Augustus? Because we just did one on Augustus Caesar or Caesar Augustus, and he was like they were in the 27 BCE. This is 488 BCE, so that's even way longer. So that's 488 years before Jesus was born. Is that what is happening? Can we talk about time? Because a lot of us it doesn't make sense. We all act like we know what we're talking about. Oh, since time immemorial, but what is it? What does that mean? Because when was 563 C? What is C? What is a C? I have to figure that out. But that's how long ago Buddha lived. So Buddha lived from 563 C to 488 BCE. That's a long time ago. That was before the Roman Empire then? Is that what's happening? Is that what I'm making sense of? Anyway, so it sounds like he was Hindu, then he had the realization that gave birth to Buddhism. So Buddhism, we can technically consider it an offshoot of Hinduism. Is that also what I'm hearing? Am I right or am I wrong? That's how I'm tracking it. Let me know if I'm wrong. And so, yes, Buddha means enlightened one. It became a new religion. It was named after him. There's two branches of Buddhism. Okay, the first branch of Buddhism um, is Theravada Buddhism. Theravada Buddhism basically emphasizes the individual quest for tranquil enlightenment. It's popular in places like Thailand and Myanmar, and where you see thousands of monks, right? So monks on their individual journeys, and those with duties to help others alleviate their suffering. Okay, but then people were like, well, I don't have time to be a monk. I can't spend all day meditating. Like I have kids to feed. I got bills to pay. Not really back then, but like I can't be a monk. I still want to alleviate my suffering. That created a second branch of Buddhism, okay, which is called Mahayana Buddhism. So Mahayana Buddhism became a second branch. It was more for the everyday people. It was a way to ease your suffering for everyone, not just monks and nuns, right? And so Mahayana Buddhism basically says that many souls can also escape this cycle of rebirth, right? Some can choose, though, to come back and reincarnate to help people. So they reframe it. It's not a bad thing if you are reincarnated. It's not a bad thing if you come back. Some people actually come back as bodhisattvas, and they remember and they help people. Right? If you remember back to Wu Zetian in China, she wanted to be acknowledged as a bodhisattva. Right? She wanted to say that she was a reincarnate of Buddha. So basically, that is what bodhisattvas are. They are reincarnate of Buddha. They turn to help others, right? People can pray to them for help. Um, Mahayana Buddhism is popular in places like China, Tibet, and Japan, right? It's the largest branch of Buddhism today. And they said, Dr. Joy said 53% of believers. I didn't know what that meant. 53% of who are believers? Of Buddhists are believers. I didn't understand what the 53, what the stat was, but Mahayana Buddhism went to Japan in the 6th century CE. Okay, when the Korean emperor at the time sent a delegation of monks to the islands, and for the next 500 years, Buddhism would be established in Japan. So it appealed to monks and educated elites. Um, which was different than the old traditional ways. It was similar to the old traditional ways, but The old traditional Japanese religion, like their indigenous traditions from way back, was called Shinto. So a lot of Japanese people still present Shinto. I believe I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but that was a common people in Japan. It's still practiced today, and they practice the way of kami, Kami, which was ancient spirits who resided in temples, and who gave help them to like seek answers. People can go to them in these temples. They could pray to these old spirits known as kamis, and the kami spirits would help them. That is a traditional religion. Um, and in the late 12th century, a monk known as Honen preached a simplified version of Mahayana Buddhism that everyone could practice, and it was called the Pure Land Buddhism. So Pure Land Buddhism became really popular. Basically, you have to chant the name Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha. You repeat it. If you chant it, it spreads hope. This became really popular among women. We're going to get into it because now, because of Confucianism, the traditional ways are changing, right? Similar to Roman Empire, now Japanese women also have to marry men. That's not how it was before. Before, traditionally, they stayed in their maternal home even after they were married. Now Confucianism came and was like, no, once you get married, you have to move in with your husband. So a lot of these women were struggling with this transition because they didn't have the maternal side to help them. Their moms or aunties or family wasn't there. They weren't in community the same way. And so a lot of them turned to Pure Land Buddha as a way to help them kind of move through, right? They were able to um, incorporate the old ways and say, well, some of the kami spirits could be Buddhists, right? Some of the kami spirits could be bodhisattvas that have come back to help us. And so it incorporated old Shinto ways with the new Pure Land Buddhism, right? Now you could also pray the Shinto, the kami spirits could also be bodhisattvas you could worship. Again, this is all based on the teachings from Dr. Joyce. So yeah, that's basically it. Um, the nuns, the Buddhist nuns, they would shave their hair, removed all of their hair. They removed themselves from the sexual economy as wives and mistresses. They wore robes and they controlled their own life, right? So I'm going to end it there, basically to give you a backstory of Buddhism, what the different branches of Buddhism is, and also what the traditional religion of Japan is, which is Shinto, I believe. So the next episode, I'm going to get into Abutsu. So Abutsu is a Japanese poet who was a huge fan of Lady Murasaki. So in the next one, I'll talk about her. Okay, so see you soon. Until next time, in solidarity.